following is a news and information podcast. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The following show may contain language and content that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Parental discretion is advised. We all love a good movie quote. And in recent years, none of them has made us question what was said as much as this classic line from Tombstone.
I'm your Huckle.
Now, Tombstone is considered one of the most iconic westerns ever, and that's not even up for debate, so don't even try to argue that. However, back in 2021, this movie had people convinced that a brand new Mandela effect occurred. All because of a viral video claiming that we got it wrong about what Doc said.
I just learned Doc Holliday isn't saying I'm he's saying I'm your. Did you guys know that?
We'll examine it next here on It's Your Breaks Audio Forensics. Sounds are all around us, and they can be heard and felt. They are mysterious and beautiful.
And sometimes they can be scary as hell.
Where did that noise come from? What'd he say? Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds a little weird. Join us as we examine myths, histories, and controversies surrounding iconic pieces of audio here on It's Your Breaks Audio Forensics. Welcome to Audio Forensics. I'm Jonathan Mertz, and today we are examining one of the most iconic Doc Holliday phrases from the movie Tombstone, and it set the internet ablaze. But before we examine that phrase, let's take a quick look at the movie itself. The 1993 Hollywood Pictures movie Tombstone is a fictional story about real-life and legendary U.S. Marshal Wyatt Earp. Some of the events in the movie are loosely based on real-life events of the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Oh my God.
And the Earp Mandela ride.
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
The Western-style movie follows Wyatt Earp, his brothers Virgil and Morgan, and his friend Doc Holliday as they set up a new life in the town of Tombstone, Arizona. At this time, Wyatt is a retired peace officer trying to live out his life as a normal civilian. That is until he has to defend his family and the town from a gang of outlaws.
You go to hell!
You first.
The movie stars Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, Sam Elliott as Virgil Earp, Bill Paxton as Morgan Earp, and Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. If you've never watched a Western before, this is a great one to start with. This movie is packed with iconic quotes, and here are just a few.
And you, music lover, you're next.
Drunk piano player. You're so drunk you can't hit nothing. In fact, you're probably seeing double.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Doc, sorry to be in bed. What the hell are you doing this for anyway?
Wyatt Earp is my friend.
Hell, I got lots of friends.
I don't.
I have nothing left. Nothing to give you. I have no pride. No dignity. No money. I don't even know how we'll make a living, but I promise I'll love you the rest of your life.
However, none of them compare to this iconic Doc Holliday quote.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your Huckle.
I know by now you're probably getting irritated with me by not letting Doc Holliday finish his iconic phrase. But that's the whole purpose of this episode. What does he actually say? And we're going to get down into it. And why is this a focus of a possible Mandela effect? Every person that I knew quoted that phrase the exact same way, and then started questioning things when a 2021 viral TikTok video appeared, claiming that we got it wrong. This video from TikTok user Chip Leach claimed that Doc didn't say the iconic phrase as we remember it, but due to his southern thick accent, he claims that he said something completely different. Listen to what Chip says about this in his video.
So I just learned Doc Holliday isn't saying I'm your Huckleberry. He's saying I'm your Huckle-Bearer. Did you guys know that?
That video got over 600,000 views. And it makes the claim that Doc Holliday actually said I'm your Huckle-Bearer instead of I'm your Huckleberry. But is that actually true? The word Huckleberry has been synonymous with pop culture and the culinary world. A huckleberry is a fruit very similar in look and taste to a blueberry, and it's used a lot in southern dishes. Mark Twain used the word to name one of his most famous characters, Huckleberry Finn. And Hanna-Barbera used it to name their iconic Huckleberry Hound. Both characters were deep-rooted in the South, so it makes sense that they would take on that name. So what about Huckle-Bearer? What is that? Well, that phrase comes from combining two words actually, huckle and pallbearer. A huckle is the handle on a casket, and a pallbearer is the one who carries the casket. And to be honest, that does make a lot of sense concerning the context of the scenes in question. But what does Doc Holliday actually say? Here, take a listen, and I won't beep it out this time, and you tell me what he says.
Don't any of you have the guts to play for blood?
I'm your Huckleberry.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Now, if you notice there, he uses that phrase twice in the movie. Did he say, I'm your Huckleberry? Or did he say, I'm your Huckle-Bearer? Are you still on the fence, or do you know for sure? Well, let me throw this twist at you, because it may just change your mind. In an 1877 Missouri newspaper called the Rolla Herald was published a poem titled Sweetheart of the Period. And in that poem, you'll find this line. I whispered, bending down my head, your lips are like a cherry. She took my meaning, laughed, and said, well, I'm your Huckleberry. That is a very interesting set of words, because that phrase was likely in reference to Mark Twain's 1876 book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, where Twain first introduced Huckleberry Finn as a character. It's unknown if the writers of Tombstone took that line from the poem, and it still doesn't confirm what Doc Holliday actually says. To find out the truth, let's turn to the man that played Doc Holliday, Val Kilmer. Val puts the whole debate to rest in his personal memoir, stating, I like the unintentional echo of Huckleberry Finn, which is my favorite novel and features my favorite character. I also realized that that line, I, playing the diseased Doc Holliday, articulated, has become iconic. I speak it before shooting to death the fearsome Johnny Ringo, played by Michael Biehn. By the way, despite some fans' contention that in the 1800s, the handles of caskets were called huckles, and thus the word Huckle-Bearer was a term for pallbearer, I do not say, I'm your Huckle-Bearer. I say, I'm your Huckleberry, connotating, I'm your man. You've met your match. Well, that certainly puts that debate to rest. And if you're wondering what the title of the memoir is called, it's called, I'm your Huckleberry. So fitting, so fitting. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Audio Forensics, and if you want more episodes like this, let us know. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, and X, formerly Twitter, at It's Your Break. You can also visit us online at itsyourbreak.com. Please subscribe to our podcast, tell your friends about our podcast, and leave us a rating and review. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Mertz. This episode of It's Your Breaks Audio Forensics was not a paid advertisement. Follow It's Your Breaks on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at It's Your Break. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. It's Your Breaks Audio Forensics is a news and information podcast. The material and information presented was for general information purposes only. References to any material mentioned can be found in the podcast description or on itsyourbreak.com. This episode was hosted, narrated, announced, engineered, edited, and produced by Jonathan Mertz. And it was recorded and edited at the Sparkavision Studios. All sound effects, music, and or graphics were obtained through various sources, including but not limited to Sound Ideas, Pro Sound Effects, Adobe, Dreamstime, and Shutterstock. It's Your Break is owned and distributed by Sparkavision. Copyright Sparkavision and It's Your Break.